but I've actually forgotten the reason for this, actually. But going back to games, actually, how does it work when, say, you create a specific piece for a certain scene for the game, say, and you're playing, but the music actually loops for, say you're in one area for, say, 2 hours, yet the music's still going.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it depends. There are loads of different ways of approaching it, and there's a great book. There's a wonderful composer, Winifred Phillips, who's written a great book on game music and how to be a game composer. She's also a really nice person, and there is lots of. I don't know how much you know about this, but there are things like we call them middleware. So there are two programs called Fmod and Wwise. They're the kind of the leaders. There's another one, but the name escapes me. Do you know that? Have you heard of these things?
Briefly, yeah.
Fine.
Briefly,
well,
yeah.
To give you, so what can happen is you can construct a track with let's say about somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes of music that can have so many variations built into it. You can allow the game to control how many elements are played, which elements are played together. You can allow randomization to, say, for example, you've got 4 bass tracks. Well, let's keep it simple. You've got 4 bass tracks and you've got 4 synthesizer tracks. Well, you can have the bass track 1 and synth track 1 play together for a minute, and then you can have bass track 1 and synth track 3 play together for a minute, and this, and then you could have no bass track and then a synth track. There are loads of ways in which to create these endless variations, and then there are people doing the research into how to get AI to help us with this process, because generative music, in the same way that No Man's Sky was a generative game. There are people looking into how you do that with music and audio. Now, I'm going to be honest, that worries me as a composer, because right. Yeah. And you've just talked about how you throw 90% of your melodies in the bin, right? Well, yeah, I'm the same. And I think, do I just want this will do as a variation of this? There is an aesthetic issue in there. Now, what you tend to do is so for example, if you're scoring a cutscene, a cutscene is like in games essentially the same as scoring a movie. It's there, it exists. There's time code. Okay, fine. I know exactly what's going to happen from frame to frame. With game, obviously, as you said, you can have a player in an area for 2 hours. It's worth, if you're interested in this, and any listeners who are interested in this, it's worth listening to, going and hunting down the composer for the score of Ori and the Blind Forest. Do you know it?
Yeah, of course. I love that soundtrack.
Great.
Brilliant soundtrack,
so Gareth is an amazing composer, but also a gamer. And he talks really eloquently and really engagingly on how he didn't use a lot of these systems and built variation, the middleware that I was talking about. He said he actually sat down for ages and ages and ages just playing early alpha builds of the game and just working out how he could create music without relying on these tools to generate a great score. And I think it's one of the greatest game scores that's ever been written. I think it's absolutely astonishing. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. It's one of those scores that makes me really glad to be in this. And then there are loads, and I picked on Ori, but I could have chosen as at the same time I was listening to, I had a big long road trip and I was listening to Ori, and I was listening to the music from Ghost of Tsushima as well, which is
what amazing soundtrack. I love it, because I think I got it last year, and I'm a massive soundtrack fan from games and films, games especially, and films. And so listening to Ghost of Tsushima, the old school like Bastion, Ori, Journey, Mega Solid, Assassin's Creed, like all these, and Doom, obviously, like I thought a completely different soundtrack, but
Yeah.
I've got like a huge soundtrack collection, especially from
Gotcha.
games, and I just love. I've always been. I used to be a massive gamer when I was younger. I kind of get
Same.
back into younger, yeah, and it's just I've always been fascinated about the sound and music behind it, thinking that really brings so much emotion to the game, doesn't it? I mean, how it builds up and then makes you feel like you're actually immersed even more into the game. Because I've always loved that kind of movie-esque kind of thing. Like that's why one of my favorite games was Metal Gear Solid when I was younger.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I've always called them kind of interactive movies where you're actually
Hmm.
playing a film,
Yeah.
and the soundtrack behind it, thinking, wow, this is making me feel so emotional now and excited. And I've always been really fascinated about that kind of aspect of things.
It was in a similar vein. I always loved. It was it Eamon Tobin that did the music for Splinter Cell?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
I mean, it was that and Journey, the
Yeah.
score for Austin's score for Journey, that got
Yeah.
me into. Oh wow, I think I quite like to write music for
Yeah.
games, you know. And then I kind of, I'm coming to it relatively. I'm a relatively new arrival on the game composition scene. I've only done a few, but I just it's. I mean, never. I love what I love. People ask me like, you wear all these different hats. Where do you feel most at home? And I love every aspect of what I do. I love writing concert music. Like it's just amazing. This
Mm.
that's your thing. You know, no one tells you what to do. You know, and I love working with you know, the electroacoustic world. That's amazing for me because you've got okay, you're overwhelming choice, but you've got all of this control, and you only really need to persuade one player to come on side. I do a lot of work with a wonderful flautist called Carla Reese,
Mm.
who's a massive champion of new music. She's got her own label and uh, really pushes new music in the UK. She's great. She and a wonderful player and a great human being. And she really helps me kind of, you know, she nudges me every so often. Oh, write something. And that's great because that's what I need. Because I am good. In fact, I'm actually, you know, now I'm in a university that is going to give me a little bit more scope to go back to doing slightly more experimental things. And what I'm really hoping to do is bring a little bit of that experimental mindset into my media work. As I say, I got great opportunities to do that with the Hanged because they wanted such an interesting score. And then, as I say, no temp, and they just said, off you go, and they were kind of really loving everything I was doing, which is just amazing when you kind of feel like you've got the trust of your directors and you just fly in and you think,
Yeah.
great, this is brilliant. But you don't always get that. And then, you know, you know, on the other hand, I'm absolutely adoring sitting there in my, you know, in my pajamas or at the end of the day with a glass of wine, writing beautiful melodies for this absolutely exquisite hand-drawn computer game.
Mm.
I don't make me choose. Yeah, is that I love every aspect of what I do. I'm an educator as well. I'm a teacher. It's a huge thing for me. I love sharing all of this various that
Yeah.
I've accumulated. I know some stuff, you know, I like to think I know some stuff. I've acquired
Oh, you
at
definitely do.
least some stuff over the years, and it's nice to be able to share it with people who want to make it. So yeah, I kind of it's nice to have a good life balance in that sense.